Um, we are recording today's session for everybody's awareness, so we can refer to this recording later on. Hi everyone, my name is Julia Lachlan and I'm the Vice President of IABC Victoria. It is wonderful to have you all here today for this information session with Sia about the personal professional certification from the GCCC. Look, I'd like to begin by acknowledging traditional owners. I'm dialing in today from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present and the living culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. And you might all like to give some thought to where you're dialing in from today, and feel free to share that in the chat if you like. We'll go to the agenda. So look, I'm going to give you a little bit of a welcome intro about IABC Victoria if you're not already familiar. I know some of you are, of course. And then we're going to go straight to Sia. I mean, that's what we're all here for, to really understand the ins and outs of certification, what the options are, the mechanisms, how to prepare for the exam and so on. And we have a couple of reminders about upcoming events as well, which I'd love to take you through. Look, before we get into it, I do just want to give an overview of IABC Victoria, if you're not familiar with it. We are proud to be the ultimate association of professional communicators around the world. We have thousands of members, and in Victoria, we're particularly proud to be one of the largest chapters outside of North America. We provide world-class professional development opportunities, local and global networking events, and exclusive resources to stay ahead of the curve. Of course, you can visit our website and download our flyer if you'd like to find out more. But I would like to introduce you to Sia Papagiorgio, who is going to tell us everything we need to know about GCCC certification options. Look, personally, I'm quite interested in this. I've only recently become aware of certification as an option. And to me, it seems to be very much like certification for a CPA or IAP2 accreditation for community engagement. It has the same benefits of helping us increase our earning potential, gaining a competitive advantage, and building our professional capability. So I'm really looking forward to this session and learning more. Look, I'd like to read Sia's bio to make sure I don't miss anything here. We are very much in capable hands, so allow me to share with you her credentials. Sia Papagiorgio is Managing Partner at the Centre for Strategic Communication Excellence and co-founder of the Alignment People and Gifted Professionals and Communicators community. She's a multi-award winning communication leader on a mission to elevate the value and visibility of communication professionals and help them become trusted, strategic, and in-demand advisors. Sia is opinionated about what our profession can achieve and believes communication professionals have the best job in the world. She's a certified strategic communication management professional, a fellow of the Royal Society for the Encouragement of Arts, Manufactures and Commerce, and past president of the Victorian chapter of the International Association of Business Communicators. She's also a past board director of IABC Asia Pacific and is past chair of the Global Communication Certification Council, hence why she is the expert to speak to us today. In 2021, IABC Asia Pacific named Sia Communicator of the Year, and in 2022, she was awarded the prestigious IABC Ray Hamlin Award in recognition of her exemplary service in advocating the global standard of the communication profession and evangelising the power and possibility of communication. Okay, so without further ado, I think over to you, Sia. We're in your capable hands.
Thank you so much, Julia. Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving up your precious time today to join us on this information session for me to talk about one of my favourite topics of conversation, and that is GCCC certification. So allow me to just share my screen and we will kick off. All right, one of the first things I would like to do is to ask you a question. And Julia has shared the reason, she's interested in certification, but I'd like to hear from you now. If you could just take one moment using the chat to tell me where you are in your certification journey. Maybe you've just heard of GCCC certification and you've come along to find out more. Maybe you have applied to sit the exam and you want to find out about the logistics of the exam and how the exam is structured and things like that. I'd like to just hear from you in regards to where you are in your certification journey. Oh, brilliant, Jessica. Yep. Thanks, Mel. And hopefully IBC Queensland can get stuck into it as well and host an exam. Justine, wonderful. Marty, I know it's been on your to-do list for a while, hasn't it? And you are ready to sit. You could sit today. Thanks, Tiji. Initial stages of thinking. Oh, Monique. Hi, Monique. Lovely to have you on. And Kirsten, just finding out more and hoping to take it in the next 6 to 12 months. Brilliant. So hopefully after today's session, you will have all the insight you need to make an informed decision and know where to go next. And Louise Avery, I want to understand how to prepare for it and when I'm ready to sit the exam. And I will share my secrets with you later on as well. All right, so let's get stuck into it. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you about the value of certification to you as a communication professional, to your organisations, and to our profession at large. I'm going to talk to you about the 2 levels of certification. So there are 2 that are available through the Global Communication Certification Council, and then I'm very happy to answer any questions you have. So I'd like to leave enough time to do that, but please feel free to use the chat function. I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chat at the same time, and I can answer questions on the fly. But before I share with you the reasons you should seriously consider getting certified, I wanted to share some compelling evidence that I think demonstrates just how critical our roles are as strategic communication professionals. I'm also a little bit of a research nerd, so I love sharing research with both my training participants and anyone I speak to. The first comes from my favourite study, and that is the European Communication Monitor. And the European Communication Monitor is the largest transnational study on strategic communication in the world. And the study in 2022, and for many years prior to that, found that building and maintaining trust is the most important strategic issue for communication management until 2025. Research conducted by the Institute for PR and PR News found that 81% of communication leaders say their responsibilities have increased in the past 2 years, and 71% anticipate they will continue to increase in the next 2 years. The 2021 European Communication Monitor found that more than 50% of communication professionals expect their role as strategic advisor to rise in importance in the next 3 years, helping top management make better business decisions. And that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from the book Why Should the Boss Listen to You, which is written by an IBC fellow, James Lukashevsky, who's based in the US. He's a crisis management expert. And he wrote a book about how to be influential and become the trusted advisor in your organization. And in it, he says, if you want to become the trusted advisor, you should manage your own destiny by helping leaders manage theirs, which I absolutely love. And finally, this nugget from the Edelman Trust Barometer. 65% of people around the world believe the communication they receive from their employer more than they do their national government. And in Edelman's special report, Trust in the Workplace, they found that quality information matters more than fair pay, with a 6.5 likelihood increase in trust. So what does that mean to us as communication professionals? Would anyone like to share any thoughts in the chat? What do you think all of that means to us? Anyone? We are super important, Mel. Anyone else? We're a trusted resource. Our work matters. Yes, Monique, you've seen these slides before, but yes, our work does matter. It absolutely matters. We have a very privileged position in our organizations. We hold all the strings of culture, leadership, safety, our people in the palm of our hands. But what we do, with that privilege is entirely up to us. And we can't do any of that if we are not trusted. So let me share with you some stories now from GCCC certificates based all around the world, because our program is a global program. You can take it anywhere in the world. Now, this is Glenda Power from Canada. She's also involved in the Canadian Region Board and the local chapter in in her part of Canada. But the GCCC's certification is based on a global body of knowledge. And that global body of knowledge was developed by the IABC over years of research and insights from both IABC and the Global Alliance, which is the umbrella organization for all PR and communication associations in the world. So it's based on years of research, and getting certified demonstrates that you have professional competence in these 6 areas. Ethics. You can act ethically. You can follow a strategy. You can conduct analysis to support your work. You can provide context about the organization's internal and external environment. You engage with your audiences and your stakeholders, and you provide a consistent story for both internal and external audiences. Now, I'm very happy to share these slides with you following today's information session. So I can share those with the IABC Victoria team, and they can share those with you. This is Alex Malouf, who is based in the UAE, he's a absolute star communication professional, but he's one of our loudest advocates. But a certification through the Global Communication Certification Council can increase your value and effectiveness, and it can increase the value and effectiveness of your employer as well, because what that demonstrates to your employer is that you are credentialed and you're ready to influence business results. And that becomes particularly important if you manage a team of communication professionals. So it's, and if we look at what the research tells us as well, it can help us retain and attract talent. And in this global race for talent, that's becoming more and more important. So, you know, those who have access to ongoing professional development are 15% more engaged in their jobs and perform 20% better. So it makes good business sense as well. I just want to check the chat to see if there are. Yes, I agree, Marty, wholeheartedly. In addition to everything I've just already mentioned, GCCC certificates have told us that they have received promotions, been approached by recruiters, pay rises, and have achieved increased job offers as a result of their GCCC certification. So people around the world are starting to notice, including HR, including L&D, and including business leaders who want to attract and retain the best communication professionals in the world. This is Wendy Thatcher. She's also based in Canada, and she is, again, one of our loudest advocates and champions of GCCC certification. And if we have, and I'm going to show you in a moment, some of the results of our recent survey into the value of GCCC credentials and the value of communication credentials in general. But if we have a look at what research tells us, you're 3 times more likely to get shortlisted by a recruiter if you have a certification. More than 50% of certified professionals are promoted within 6 months of gaining a certification. They're almost twice as likely to receive regular pay rises, and 6 out of 10 receive a pay rise within the first 6 months of gaining their certification. So the results speak for themselves. These are the results of our recent survey that we conducted on behalf of the GCCC in partnership with #WeLeadComms, which is a global initiative you may have seen on LinkedIn, celebrating the leadership of communication professionals around the world. And these are the career outcomes that GCCC certificates have told us they gain as a result of their GCCC certification. Now, as you can see, the top 2 are quite individual benefits: improved personal branding and increased respect and recognition from peers. But there's a bit of a trend here. We also did this study in 2020, so this is 3 years on, that more people now are receiving pay rises, more people are receiving increased job offers, and more people are receiving promotions and being approached by recruiters than they did 3 years ago, which is a great sign. Yes, Mel, I can certainly do that. This is Michael Nord, who is based in the Netherlands, and he is also a former, I'm not sure if he was the chair of IABC EMENA, but he's certainly been on the board he was on the board for many, many years, and he's also served as a director on the International Executive Board which is the IBC headquarters. So it really, really is a way to elevate what we do, and it sets a benchmark. Okay, that's what's been missing from our profession for so long. And I think, Julia, you mentioned earlier around other professions who have accreditations and licenses and certifications to operate. Accountants, lawyers, doctors. We come into to communication through a variety of avenues. Some people fall into communication. Some people have tertiary qualifications, and so this is all about standards and professionalizing what we do. It really elevates the value and visibility of what we do as communication professionals in our organizations. So to me, it's a key differentiator, and to me, it's a no-brainer. And this is my good friend Arun, who is based in Melbourne, and he was certified shortly after me. But I think if the last few years, COVID has taught us it's no longer good enough to just know communication. We are critical to the success of our organizations, and the people that do communication in organizations, or if you're a consultant or you work in an agency and you have clients, people want to have the best people working on their communication, because communication can make or break an organization. If we look at what I shared earlier around trust, and the global spotlight is on trust. People expect more from their organizations. People trust the information they receive from their employers more than they do their national government. That means your role as a communication professional is critical, and we have to maintain our knowledge to stay relevant. Okay. This is Andre, and he's based in South Africa. He's recently joined the Global Communication Certification Council, which is awesome. But I'd just like to share a story with you, and this story is from my conversation I had with my very good friend who sadly passed away last year. I'm sure all of you have heard of her, Deb Ganderton. She's the former president of IABC Victoria as well. She was the president following me. She gained her certification in her 60s. And at that point, she was already the CEO of her organization. And when I was president and I asked her, "So Deb, are you thinking of getting certified?" I don't even think I finished the sentence. She immediately said, "Yes, I am going to get certified." And her response was something I've never forgotten. And that is, if we don't respect our profession, why should anybody else? And I think that is there. That's it right there. Okay, this is about respect. It's about respect for what we do. It's about demonstrating to others, and I have a lot of conversations as a trainer, as a coach, as a consultant with communication professionals about them not being trusted in the organizations, about them being seen as a cost center only and not a valuable business function that contributes to the success of the organization. And so certification, demonstrating to our peers, our business partners, and our senior leaders that what we do matters and what we do is important, so important that we have a global body of knowledge, and that guides everything we do in communication, is critically important. So let me tell you now about certification. The first thing I'd like to share is that the GCCC certification program, so the CMP and the SCMP certifications, which I'm about to tell you, are the only professional communication certifications in the world that meet ISO standards. No other organization in the world can make that claim. Okay, I'm just checking the chat. Oh, thank you, Monica. And so ISO was developed in order to answer one fundamental question, and that is, what is the best way of doing this? And that's what our certifications embody, the best and most reliable way to certify communication professionals. So these are the two certifications that are available through the GCCC, the CMP and the SCMP. I myself have the second level, the Strategic Communication Management Professional. But if we have a look at the difference between the two and the eligibility criteria, this can help you make an informed decision about where you are in your career right now. So the CMP is for communication professionals who are established in their career as a communication professional and looking to demonstrate their competence. Now, to be eligible to sit the CMP exam, you need to demonstrate a couple of things. The first is you need to demonstrate at least 8 years of communication management experience. and 40 clock hours, or 6 years of communication management experience and 2 years of education plus 40 clock hours of training. If you are in the midst of your education now, that can also serve as your training hours, okay? So you can kill two birds with one stone there. But you either have to demonstrate 8 years, 6 years, and your clock hours of training. Now, the clock hours of training are any training you've done over the previous 2 years. So at the time of making your application, look back 2 years and say, what training have I done? And that could include things like you've attended a conference that went for a full day, okay, 9 to 5. Well, there's 8 hours of training. Maybe you attended a training course online and that went for 2.5 hours. Well, there's 2.5 hours for you. So it's based on clock hours. The second level of certification is the Strategic Communication Management Professional, the SCMP. And that's for highly skilled and practiced communication professionals who have experience providing strategic communication advice and counselling to their organisation's leadership. Now, to be eligible to sit the SCMP, you need to demonstrate at least 11 years of communication management experience plus 20 clock hours of training. There is an additional requirement for SCMPs, and that is to provide a letter of recommendation from a mentee, so somebody you've mentored, or an organisation for which you've done pro bono work addressing senior level contributions to communication. So a couple of options here. For those on the call who are IABC board members, that is enough for you to demonstrate you've done pro bono work, because what you do for IABC is you do it as a volunteer, okay? If it doesn't include managing direct reports though, you have to either have somebody you mentor write you a letter or an organisation for which you've done pro bono work. When I became certified, the letter I provided was to a charity here in Melbourne, by a charity here in Melbourne called the Sacred Heart Mission, because I have done lots of pro bono work with them in strategic communication advice and strategy. So that was my letter, but I could also share a letter from IABC doing the same. Okay, so there's lots of options there. So they're the two levels of certification. And a point I would like to make for those of you who are thinking about making your applications, you know, you may have been working in communication for 20 years. You don't have to include 20 years of work experience on your application. You just have to demonstrate 11, okay? Yes, Mel, you can ask anybody on the board to endorse you. And we have a template that is in the Leader Centre that can help you do that. So I've used something I've done in the past. I've put it up on the Leader Centre. So if you look at the certification section in Manager chapter on the Leader Centre, you can find that template. Just modify that to your own purposes. Okay, so in terms of what counts as training, this is a question we get asked a lot, but any skills-based events, so they have to be skills-based. It doesn't include going to an IABC networking event where you're drinking wine and eating and networking with your peers. It has to be a skills-based event. So any skills-based event offered by a business, a non-profit, industry associations like the IABC or the Public Relations Institute of Australia or anyone else, anything you've done if you're in the midst of studying, trade schools, vocational schools, anything like that, any webinars you've participated in or watched count towards your training. Self-paced courses, on-demand courses, you may have done either been provided free through the association or you've paid for them, count towards your training. And of course, face-to-face classroom learning counts as well. Another point I'd like to make about training is that don't think of the training as strictly strategic communication training. If you are thinking, for example, of going for the SCMP, which is the more senior strategic certification, and we look at the domains, and I'll show you those domains in a moment, but if you ever look at those domains, one of the domains is advising and leading. And so if you've done a leadership course, for example, in your workplace, or you've done a leadership course anywhere else, that counts towards your certification application. And it also counts after you've been certified towards your continuing professional development, because it is based on the job task analysis. It's based on the domains you are being tested or benchmarked against. Just having a look at the chat. Yes, as long as you can link them back to the domains, Justine. Jessica, I've been attending multiple webinars. Does the registration confirmation email count? Absolutely, it counts. So every time you register for a course or an on-demand or a webinar or something, and they send you a confirmation email, save that email, because that's your verification that you've attended, okay? So it's a little bit on a system as well. There's no way for us to check that you actually did go to that webinar, but we take your word for it. So this is what the exam experience is like. You have 3 full hours to complete the exam. And let me tell you, 3 hours is absolutely ample time to answer 100 multiple choice questions. When I sat the exam in 2018, I finished in 2 hours. Okay. And our research, we've done research since we did first research was in 2020. And as I mentioned earlier, the second research study we did was in 2023. The average completion time is 2 hours. So 3 hours is more than enough to complete the exam. Right now, there's a 65% pass rate on the CMP and 100% pass rate on the SCMP. And as you can see there are current numbers. There's a bit of a dip in those numbers depending on the time of year, because the majority of our certificates renew in September and October, mainly October. So there's those numbers are sure to rise in the next couple of months. You can sit the exam in a number of ways. You have the option of either taking the exam in person, and I know that IBC Victoria is committed to holding face-to-face exams, and I personally think that's a great way to engage your members and to engage prospective members in the association. Or you can do it remotely in the comfort of your own home or office any time of the day. If you were to apply to sit the exam and you are deemed eligible, the only thing you can't do is same-day testing. So once you get that the acceptance from the GCCC that you are eligible to sit, you can sit it tomorrow remotely if you like, and you can do it 24/7, okay? So you do have a choice. These are the domains you are tested on, okay? So the CMP has 5 domains, the SCMP has 6. As you can see there, in the CMP, there are 20 questions on measurement, 7 on ethics, 21 on research and analysis, 36 on strategy and engagement, and 16 on consistency and strategic implementation. Likewise, the SCMP, there are 6 domains: reputation management, ethics, innovation, strategy development, management, advising, and leading. What I would suggest you do is jump onto the GCCC's website under the resources tab. There's a ton of information there that can help you look into each of those domains and what are the tasks, knowledge, and behaviours you're expected to have to possess in order to be deemed eligible. But let's not forget that certification is based on your knowledge and skills. If you've been working in communication management for more than 6 years, more than 8 years, more than 11 years, you should have the knowledge and skills to take and pass the exam. Okay, so one of the questions I keep getting asked is, what should I study? What should I study? What should I be looking at? What should I, be reading about? And my advice is always, this is not so much about studying. Now, I get it. It's an exam. So people want to be prepared. They want to feel comfortable taking it. I hadn't taken an exam since the 90s when I was in high school. So, I totally understand. But this is based on strategic communication knowledge. And this is something you should be doing in your workplaces already. So you should have the knowledge and the skills to take and pass the exam. But the job task analyses, and there's one for each CMP and SCMP, break down each of those 5 and 6 domains into tasks and behaviours. And so you could see there what knowledge you're expected to have. There are also practice tests available. And they are also, for those IBC leaders on the call, in the Leader Centre, but there are also links on the website, the GCCC website, under resources. So take those exams and take those practice tests and see how you land. And I always advise people, regardless of which certification they're interested in taking, to take both the exams. So if you're going for the SCMP, take the CMP exam as well. It just gets you into that frame of mind of thinking what kind of questions could potentially be on the exam, how they're framed, the language they use, and what options you should be selecting. There is only one answer. There are 4 options in each of the 100 questions, and there's only one right answer. This is what it costs to get certified. So for what we've done at the GCCC, and I'm officially no longer on the GCCC, but what we did when I was the chair and after that was ensure that certification was more accessible to more people around the world, because we had received feedback that the cost was prohibitive for some countries around the world. So we have grouped the fees into 2 groups, Group 1 and Group 2. Australia sits in Group 1. And so anyone that is a member of any Global Alliance member organisation, so if you're an IABC member, you are a member of a Global Alliance member organisation, because the IABC is a GA member. You can take the exam for $395, and that includes a $95 non-refundable application fee. So all up, to apply and to sit the exam, it's going to cost you $395. And then annually, you need to pay $95 to maintain your certification. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. Following the latest survey results, the GCCC is exploring whether we expand the annual certification renewal to 2 years, to every 2 years. Okay. For those non-members on the call, you pay $495. So again, bit of a no-brainer to me. You might as well get an IBC membership and participate in certification for a little, at a cheaper price. Group 2 pay slightly less, given where they are in the world, and all of these details are available on the website. And if you are an ABC, I don't think there are any ABCs on this call. ABCs can have a streamlined application and pay $195. So the whole point of certification is that it's not a one and done. Okay, this is about ongoing learning. It's about keeping our skills and knowledge up to date and fresh. And so we have to renew our certification to maintain it. And so every year, and as I said, that could change to every 2 years, depending on the GCCC's decision, you have to earn 40 professional development points every year to maintain your certification. Now, let me tell you that 40 points, and I've been doing this since 2018, is very doable, and it takes me 5 minutes to renew. Okay, so for those on the call who are IABC leaders, 10 points already for your board service. Okay. If you are mentor to communication professionals, there's another 10 points. If you are, I teach for a living. I know Mel teaches as well. There's another 10 points for for running a course or teaching or making a presentation. Again, gets you points. Reading, communication management, thought leadership, articles, listening to podcasts, webinars, gets you points. There's a ton of ways that you can accumulate your ongoing professional development. And let's not forget, you have an entire year to do that. So if you want to be the best communication professional you can be, then you need to be focused on ongoing learning and development. So a part of what you also need to do is not only accumulate the points, is complete your annual renewal application, which is literally as easy as jumping online, filling out a couple of boxes showing your evidence. Again, similarly to what somebody asked earlier around evidence. If you have attended a course, I know in my courses, I always give a certificate of completion. That certificate of completion is enough to demonstrate that you have taken that course. So there's a number of ways you can verify that. So you need to do that every single year in order to maintain your certification. And that concludes the formal part of my presentation. But does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns? Let's have a look what's in the chat. No, I blew your minds with my certification information, did I? All righty. How soon can you retake the exam if you fail? So, Justine, you can take the exam immediately if you fail, and I would encourage you to do that. And I have seen many, or not many, but I have seen a few communication professionals in Victoria, particularly around the time when I was vice president, president, and immediate past president, that unfortunately, for one reason or another, did not pass the exam. However, they took it immediately after. and they passed, okay, because the knowledge is fresh in your mind. For whatever reason, maybe you weren't feeling well on the day. It is an exam again, so maybe you don't do so well in those types of environments and you didn't pass, but you can take it straight away. If you fail, do you need to submit another $95 application? No. Let me check that, Jessica. I think it's recently changed, but I don't believe you do. If you fail a second time, then I think you need to do the whole process again. But can I just check that one? I'll just write that question down. Marty. In a perfect world, Marty, yes, that would be the case. But at the moment, our budget and purse strings belong to ABC. One day in the future, we would like to be a separate body to IABC, but right now we are constrained by IABC's and the way they collect the funds. So right now that's in American dollars. So hopefully that we have asked for that in the future. But yes, that is the exchange rate means the fee does vary for Australians and many others around the world. Any other questions? I will leave that to IABC to answer. IABC, when's the next in-person exam?
That is a great question. One for our professional development chair, I believe, if Beck, you're able to chime in. It may yet to be set, but Beck, do you have any insight?
Even in 2023, it's still a struggle to find where mute is to come off of it. We've got one tentatively earmarked for November. We figure that's enough time for people to do what they need to do after this, and enough time to promote it. So I don't have a specific date, but we'll certainly let the people of this call know once it's locked in. But November is the timing that we're targeting.
And can I just make a point too to anyone on the call, not just the IABC leaders who manage the chapters, anybody can schedule an exam. If you are a communication manager and you know yourself or your colleague maybe, and there's 3 of you and you want to do the exam, you can also schedule the exam. I've even done exams at somebody's house where and this is an instance where the individual had not passed the exam, was really upset. I encouraged her to redo the exam as quickly as possible. And then she did it the week after, and I went to her house and proctored for her. So anybody can do that. Jessica, I know that there is an IABC book you can purchase on Amazon that I heard is a good study guide. Yes, in our research, it was rated the #1 study guide for communication professionals. It's a little bit spendy. Would you recommend it? Yes, I would. You can also buy it in a PDF format now, and I think it's cheaper. I'm not too sure of the exact price, but it is cheaper, and you can buy it in PDF, in electronic form. But again, if I can just share my personal experience and the experience I've heard from others all around the world. Believe in yourself, okay? If you've been working in communication for decades, okay? At the time when I got certified, I'd been working in communication for more than 20 years, okay? What I did to prepare personally was read the IABC Code of Ethics, because if anything's going to trip you up, it's those ethical questions, okay, where it's a little bit grey. You might think, would I do this or would I do that? Or would my organization do this versus this? So I read the IABC Code of Ethics, and I had a quick look through the job task analysis to look at the knowledge and behaviors I'm expected to have as a strategic communication professional. That's pretty much it, okay? Because you already have the knowledge and skills. You do it every day. This is about demonstrating that and gaining that credential. Yes, thank you. The book is called The IABC Guide for Practical Business Communication. I think it's called I've got it on my shelf, a Global Standard Primer. But yes, you can absolutely purchase that book in electronic form. And one thing we've done on our website, on the GCCC website, is carved out that book and the podcast, the IABC Fellows podcast, according to the domain. So you'll see there that if you're going for the CMP, we've got a list of chapters that apply to each of those domains, and also a list of podcasts that apply to each of those domains. So if you wanted to refresh your knowledge, you could do that directly through the website, obviously with the book as well. Do you think there's a benefit to doing the exam in person versus remotely? Good question, Marty. Entirely up to you. One thing that I will say, though, is I personally like to do the exam with others. It's more engaging for the chapter and for the people that are hosting, but also, I want to experience that with my peers. I want to, have this collective experience where we sit the exam together. Having said that, though, I totally understand that people may not want to put themselves out there. And when I sat the exam, I was the chair of professional development for IABC Victoria. And so I felt like all eyes were on me, that if I failed, oh my goodness, what would that say? And I'm the chair of professional development. I'm the one that hosted this exam. And I had a whole bunch of other horrifying thoughts. However, thankfully I passed. But so doing it in the comfort of your own home or office can ease some of those tensions. You are by yourself. Nobody's going to know whether you passed or failed. But again, have a look at those pass rates. 100% for the SCMP. What does that tell you? That tells you a number of things. That the people that are applying for this are senior communication professionals. They know their stuff. So believe in yourself. How long do you have to wait for the exam results to come through? They're pretty instant, Marty. Once you pass, you should know pretty quickly. If not instantly, the very next day or the couple of days after that. So yeah, you won't have to wait long. How soon do you get the results? Justine, that's fine. And the other same question. So I just want to make a point too about results. If you pass or if you fail, you'll get a printout from the GCCC with your overall scores in each of the domains. You won't be told which questions you got wrong, but you will be told how you did in each of the domains. So for example, in advising and leading, let's say that's out of 20. I can't remember what it's really out of, but you might get 17 out of 20. So you got 3 questions wrong. Again, you won't be told which questions, but you'll know overall how you did. Same if you don't pass. You'll see how you did, which then is your roadmap for ongoing professional development to ensure that you then can focus on those areas that you are least experienced in versus those that you are most experienced in. Thanks, Louise. Please reach out on LinkedIn if you have any more questions. And I'll share. I'm going to share 2 tips with you. These are my 2 biggest tips and the tips that I keep sharing with people all around the world when they ask me about certification. The first is a tip that I was given before I sat, and that was from my friend Cindy Schmeig, who is in the States. And she was visiting Melbourne at the time. We'd taken her to a winery here in Melbourne, and we were sitting there having a glass of champagne. And I said to her, Cindy, what's your biggest piece of advice you can give me for this exam? And she just looked at me and said, Sia, go for the most strategic answer. And that piece of advice in the moment didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but when I was in the exam, it did, because you will see, for those who take the plunge and do sit the exam, that when you are presented with the options, and again, there are 4 options, A, B, C, D. Sometimes you look at the question. This is why the practice exams are so important, to take those practice exams. You will look at those answers and say, could be A, but it could also be C. But which one of those is more strategic? Which one of those is based on the global standard? Which one of those is what I should be doing? Not what my organization does, but what should I be doing based on a global standard? Okay, and this is why it's important too to brush up on the global standard, which is available on IABC's website. So that was the first piece of advice that I was given, and one I continue to share. And the second was, which I just alluded to, is don't answer in the way you think your organization would deal with this situation, particularly for those scenario-based ethical questions. And if you have a look at the practice exam, there are some questions there about recalls, product recalls, crisis management. Practically, your organization might not be doing the right thing, even though you are advising them to to go down one path, they may not take your advice and they may not do that. Don't answer the way you think your organization is going to handle this situation. Answer what is based on global best practice, okay? And all of that detail exists both on IBC's website through the global standard, on the GCCC's website, through the practice exams, through the information around the domains, the job task analyses. All that information is out there. And so that would be my biggest piece of advice for you. Just have a, read up on those things, and that should really be it. It's not about studying for months and months and months before you sit this exam, because it's based on what you know already. Mel, do you get access to the practice exams once you've paid for the application? They're already available, Mel. So they're available on the GCCC's website under resources, and they're also available. There's the one on the GCCC's website for the CMP is not the one I've previously shared on the Leader Centre. It's got the one that I've shared has got more questions. So what I might do is I might send them to IBC Victoria to then share with anyone who registered for this session. Okay, so there are 2 practice exams, one for the CMP, one for the SCMP. And regardless of which one you're thinking about, I say do both. Just do both. The answers are on the final page, just to get a feel for the questions, because let's not forget, it is an American exam. And so they use American language. So we need to get a feel for how these things, we sit on these committees and we try and encourage them to use more inclusive language. But sometimes they it's changed a bit, but still you might read it and go, well, I'd never phrase something like that. But here we are. Any other questions? Thank you, Justine. Look, at the end of the day, I would encourage each and every one of you to seriously consider getting certified. For me, it has been a wonderful experience. It has improved my confidence. And if you have a look at our research results, and I recently drafted an article that shared our survey results for IBC Catalyst. Our certificates have told us that GCCC certification gives them credibility, gives them credentials, and importantly, gives them confidence, okay? It boosts your confidence. And you think about your own experience. If you're going for a new job, okay, or you're recruiting for a person in your team, and you look at CVs of different communication professionals, and it's a bit of a muchness to have similar backgrounds, similar work experience, similar industry experience, and one of them certified. Which one are you thinking of? Would you think of employing? Okay, if all else was equal, I know who I would employ. I'd employ the certified person, because that indicates to me that this person has been independently verified as having the skills and knowledge I need in my team, or the skills and knowledge that can help my organization succeed. And again, going back to what I said earlier around respect, this really is about respect. What's one of the key issues we keep banging on about as communication professionals? No one respects what we do. They think all we do is right all day. They tell us how to do our jobs. Well, let's take our power back. This is about us standing up and saying, we belong to a profession. It's not just anyone can do communication. We belong to a profession with ethics, a profession with standards, and a profession with a clear purpose. And here's my third-party independent verification that I am bloody good at what I do. And that's what certification says, loud and clear. Any final questions? Brilliant. Oh, wonderful, Jessica. That's music to my ears. And can I? Woo, excellent. This makes my heart sing. And please, anyone on this call who wants to know more about certification, who wants to ask me a question privately, or who would like me to coach them through, I am more than happy to do any of that. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about standards and professionalism and GCCC certification. So that is my promise to you. I am more than happy to help you through this. So please reach out to me on LinkedIn and let's have a chat. Anyone else?
That was great. Thanks, Sia.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that probably is about it. That was wonderful, Sia. Thank you very much for that thorough overview. I think it was very informative and quite persuasive. I, for one, am looking forward to doing my certification. It's a funny thing. I was just reflecting when you were talking about, it would be incredulous for somebody in the business to think that they can practice law, right, or do accounting or do any number of other professions. But for some reason, there does seem to be a tendency in organizations, if someone thinks they can string a few words together, that they can do communications. But of course, our profession is so much more than that. And this certification is a really great way to demonstrate our credibility and authority to provide that expertise and strategic advice to businesses. So I'm looking forward to digging into it. Thank you. Now, we do have a couple of upcoming events that I would like to mention before we wrap. IAVC, of course, is a wonderful avenue to do events and professional development and to earn points, CPD points as well, to maintain your certification. And we always have events upcoming. Beck, is it possible to bring up the slides so we can see what they are?
Apologies, I thought it was up. Let's try again.
Okay, perhaps it was just hiding on my screen. So our first event that I'd like to mention is coming up next Wednesday. Against the backdrop of the Voice referendum, we are tackling the topic of how to ensure your business has an authentic voice on social issues, when to weigh in and when to remain silent. It's going to be a terrific event. We're holding it in person at Deakin University in the CBD. So for those in Melbourne, come along. We'll have drinks and canapes, very much like our AI event back in May. And a panel discussion. Among our panelists, we have Shane McKee from Bank Australia, head of corporate affairs there, and CEO of Bastion Republic, Claire Gleghorn. So it's going to be to state, or you can't join in person. We'll also be streaming it. So definitely join us one way or another. Details are on our website. And of course, I'd like to mention our upcoming Quiz Gala and Deb Ganderton oration. So the Gala prestigious Quills Awards, and for the second year running, we will be including the oration in memory of Deb Ganderton, who Sia mentioned in her presentation, who delivered that wonderful quote, which I loved and wrote down. If we don't respect our own profession, how can we expect others to? So I'm pleased to also mention that the person we have lined up to deliver the oration is the managing editor of the Saturday paper, and she will be speaking about delivering communications in a post-truth world. So it's going to be a fantastic event, and I really hope you can join us. Get in quick to buy your tickets. It will be a glittering night of nights, and we all look forward to seeing you there from IAVC Victoria. Now, if you do have any questions or if you didn't catch any information from today's session, we'll be sending an email following the event with a few key resources that Sia's mentioned and a few links and a link to the recording as well, so you can watch it again if you have any gaps. But thank you. I'll just check the chat to see if there is anything outstanding, but otherwise we can wrap up with 3 minutes to spare. Okay, brilliant. So nothing further, just a few links there from our events team to refer to register for our events. And we really hope to see you there. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks everyone. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.